Well, KIllco, my name is Brian. I can only hope this is live and hope the sound is working. I'm sure it is. And if not, oh well. I am here for Laphroaig Day, and no one knows what that is other than the assumption that Laphroaig Day is somehow directly linked to Laphroaig. It is not. Laphroaig Day is basically something I made up for myself for the first time I had Laphroaig. So that's what Laphroaig Day is to me. First, I should pour some Laphroaig. That's a good idea. Now, horror of horrors, when I looked at this earlier, when I was grabbing the Laphroaigs that I have, the cap wasn't on all the way. It was in, but it wasn't, solid. So I'm terrified if this has gotten a little messed up. It's 43%. That's a fun noise. But I'm pouring a little. I'm going to try and do one of these in under an hour. I don't know if that's going to actually happen. We're going to try it. Still smells like Laphroaig, so that's a plus. And the other one I have is this one, the Cardeas Fino cast finish. And this one's weird because it's not a green bottle. It's almost gone. And this one is at 51.8%, so a whole different kind of Laphroaig, basically. And this one was perfectly fine when I opened it, but I'm still terrified something weird happened to the 10 I had since I haven't touched it in a while. Peated stuff is not what I go to very often, but it's something that I did kind of learn to enjoy early on, thankfully. Well, many other people are terrified by the peated scotches and that kind of thing. I'm not, thankfully. So, where to begin? Let's start at the book. I always link down below an audiobook done by Fred Minnick, or at least written by Fred Minnick, but it's called Whiskey Women, and it's an audiobook me and my father worked on. This is how it all kind of started for me, is my father read the book, I had to edit it and make sure it was fine, and there's a part where they go over Laphroaig, which has got its own kind of unique form of advertising, we'll say, where it's, what's the use of mermaid's bathwater and walrus kind of thing. It's like, oh, that sounds like an interesting beverage, I guess. But that is how we got curious about whiskey. We heard about this, Laphroaig stuff, and we're kind of like, wow, what the heck is this all about? The funny thing is, it wasn't as easy to find as we wanted it to be. We didn't want to buy a whole bottle. And it just so happened on this day, back in 2016, we finally found a bottle sitting behind a bar. Actually, it was a restaurant with a bar in it. And that was the first time I got to try it. And thankfully, it didn't, destroy me or, make me gag or anything. But it was a notable day because that was the first day I drank straight spirits and thought, oh, wow, this is not what I was expecting. So in honor of that day, this is Laphroaig Day for me. And oddly enough, I have Fred Minnick to thank for me getting into peated scotches, which feels weird, but it's true. It feels a little less. I don't know if that's because of the bottle being open slightly or just me having gotten used to peated stuff. But it's lovely. It's a whole experience. I'm not going to go into any tasting notes because that could take a while. And as I said, I'm trying to limit my time today because I want to do more streams, but I don't want to, just go off the hook and end up doing one that's almost 2 hours, which I easily do. So with the tasting of the Laphroaig on Laphroaig Day, that's when I stumbled into the Whiskey Vault stuff. I think it was on Reddit that I first found it by accident. And I'm almost positive it was the Modern Rogue episode, the really early one, where where Modern Rogue was in Daniel's Whiskey Vault, or in the Whiskey Vault with Daniel, somming it up and trying different kinds of things. So that is another, check mark in my history of how my whiskey journey began, I suppose. And it just kind of rolled on from there. Once I started getting into the idea that liquor itself was more than just something that was, shot. You pour it and shoot it back. And I've had the interesting realization at this point in my life, which is strange, but I've always wondered that the way to drink spirits in America has always been pour a little bit into a tiny glass and then drink it as quickly as possible and then suffer for doing that. That doesn't seem like the ideal way to drink spirits, and it certainly hasn't been in my past history, because that is how you drink too much of it too fast and get very sick. Pouring it into nice glasses like this, making it a whole experience, that seems much safer to me, because I don't drink this as quickly. Even when I pour a fair amount, like when I pour 2 ounces or more, it takes me well over an hour just to drink a little of it, which is the safest bet. But so what happened after just getting into Laphroaig and being curious about Laphroaig and having it for the first time and not getting horribly sick, thankfully, or not having a adverse reaction, we'll say, to it? We're finding the Whiskey Vault stuff at just the right time. Oop. Jason Busey. Laphroaig lore. Yeah. That's the funny thing is I have a I can't stand up because I'm the only one on camera right now. But I do have an empty bottle of Laphroaig lore. That was another check note, which thankfully you reminded me of, was after trying Laphroaig, just the regular 10, I believe. Not long after that, I found lore at a store nearby, and it was expensive, but since my dad seemed to like peated stuff, and since I was at least curious about whiskey at the time, I bought the bottle of it. And it didn't last more than a year, because that stuff is glorious. If I could get another bottle of lore easily, I would, but 2020 being what it is and me being in my financial situation, it's not good. I haven't gone into that, but I will at some point on the YouTube thing, because it's, personal stuff, I guess, and that's always weird, especially when you have a YouTube channel that's mainly around the luxury of having a lot of whiskey. But I digress. What was fun about Laphroaig and how it got me into peated scotches and it got me into the Advent calendar is the next step, is when I stumbled across the Whiskey Vault and Daniel started doing Advent calendars. Now, the first year he did it, I could not participate, I don't think. But I did do, the first one I did was Drinks by the Dram. I still have the box somewhere over there. And then the next year I did what he liked to call the Space Side calendar, which it was Secret Spirits. So a lot of scotches there, but not so many peated ones. A few. I definitely recall a few that I had, and there was at least one where it was way too much peat for me. For me at the time, it was just, I don't know what it was, but it was so aggressive and so difficult to drink that I couldn't drink it. I poured a little bit of it, had a sip, and I think I gave the rest to my dad because it was just too intense. I don't even remember what it was. Thankfully, I recorded all my reactions, I think, and posted on here. That was the other bit to this whole kind of Laphroaig whiskey tube thing, is that I'd started off with scotches because of Daniel, I think, and also because of the Fred Minnick book that we had recorded, where they talked briefly about peated scotch and Laphroaig specifically. And it was lovely. It was a strange thing to get into whiskey from that angle. I'm trying to scotch it up as much as I can today. I have my Aquavite shirt. I'm using my Aquavite glasses. Special thanks to Roy for everything he does in the whiskey world, because he's just a fountain of Scotch knowledge. He's a very kind, soft-spoken gentleman, too, which is lovely. Part of why I have the shirt, really. But, yeah, Laphroaig. It's definitely an experience. I wish I had the lore, or at least the select. I don't think I do. I feel like I don't. I only grabbed the 2 I remember having, which is just the 10 and their Cardeas. Well, the only thing I can really do is try to compare them, which is going to be difficult. I know the Carrera smells a lot sweeter than the 10. Which again, I'm paranoid about the 10 simply because I left it open slightly. Like the cork wasn't down all the way. It was in there, but it wasn't all the way. And now in the back of my head, I feel like there's something horribly wrong. I don't taste anything horribly wrong, but again, it's Laphroaig. If anything, it's a little softer than I remember. That might be the only thing that's bothering me. Yeah. Still got that little kick to it that all peats do. Peated stuff seems to. I wanted to check the words. The problem I have with making my videos is trying to get to the point where I have, I guess, a whiskey vocabulary is a nice way to put it. The most difficult thing is, for me, part of the process of enjoying something is you already know what it is. Like you see a strawberry, you eat a strawberry, it's a strawberry, it tastes like a strawberry. But with whiskey, it's whiskey. And at best, it will remind you of other things, but trying to make those connections seems to be the hardest part for me, where I'll just get stuck on the basics of it being sweet or, peppery or bitey or, I'll have words like that. But some of the stuff, Roy and I think Ralphie in particular, he has a wide vocabulary of words he uses when describing whiskey. And I always feel like I'm tripping over my own feet just trying to get a few things out of here. Hello. Random gnat. That's fun. But first, let's go with Laphroaig 10, which I think I've reviewed in the past. I hope I have, because if I haven't, I don't know. I messed something up there. Oh, yeah. The nose profile on this is exactly what I thought. Oddly enough, I'm more common in getting... There's peat here, yeah, but for whatever weird reason, my nose seems to cling to the sweet things, and I think that's just because I'm prone to enjoying salty things more, so I'm told. Salt and bitter doesn't bother me as much, but if something's too sweet, it can really bug me. And that might be why I'm just comfortable with Laphroaig rather than being, I don't know if the word repulsed is, but I'm always interested in how not hardcore, but bourbon folk seem to dislike peated stuff. And I'm fine with bourbons for the most part. Actually, that's become my default, really, this year, of all years this year. But that is mainly due to, let's see, tariffs, I believe it was. So scotches and Irish and stuff like that has all gone up in price. And I'm not one who's making a lot of money. I mentioned before, in most streams, I say I am a poor bastard, which is true, although I do have plenty not to complain about. As far as having a job, I don't have one, and I haven't had one for a very long time. The idea was going to be that I was going to find work this year, and if you've lived through 2020, you know that wasn't exactly ideal situations. Part of doing this live and just making it in the moment is I'm talking about the present, and someone may watch this, a year or two from now, having only a vague memory of what it is that was going on. I hope. I'd like everything to be back to normal next year, but whoa. One of the funny things I get with this stuff is it always makes me think, if you've ever been driving, we'll say, somewhere, or been near blacktop, when they're putting down pavement, there's that, new tar asphalt kind of thing. That is the memory that immediately comes to mind when I smell this kind of stuff. There's a little bit of salt to it too when I drink it, which I like, but I also have bad memories of getting seawater into my mouth and that kind of thing. And as soon as I start to think about that, I get a little weirded out by drinking it. Not so much as I used to. As I said, I got into scotches with Laphroaig, being one of the first ones I tried. But I did end up leaning towards stuff like Johnny Walker Black and the simpler, cheaper things, as one might expect. Okay, focus. Nose profile on the Whizzky app, which I think I have linked below, is smoky, peaty, medicinal bonfires, iodine, and seaweed. Iodine's a weird one. I've heard iodine many times. And if I think iodine, the only thing that comes to mind for me is like that medicinal weird smell you get at hospitals or doctors' offices. I can certainly get that in here. Is it something I'd say when smelling it? Probably not. Especially when I'm still weirded out by this bottle. But it's nice. It does remind me of the ocean a little. Kind of that seaweed thing, which I don't like, honestly. I find it funny that with peated scotches, a lot of these smells you dig up and the memories that just kind of come to mind, they're not pleasant. Like, I don't often think of myself going like, yes, tar and asphalt and seaweed. It's just, it's the strangest thing about peated scotch beverages is the thoughts and memories they evoke don't always, incite fondness, we'll say. But I dig it. I'm fine with it. The flavor they got here, it's all basic stuff. That's the one problem with peated scotches and community profiles, that kind of thing. Salt, smoky, bonfire, and peaty. Well, yeah, it's exactly what it is. Finish? There's really not much of a finish for it for me. It doesn't really cling. You'd think it would. Oh, that's a good one. Peaty, tobacco ash, smoky, and bonfire. Tobacco ash is something that as soon as I read it was immediately like, yep, I know what tobacco ash smells like, and it smells awful. If I want to really dig into it, I would probably say it smells like wet tobacco ash or, a wet bonfire after it's rained or something. That's an old memory right there. That's from my Boy Scouting and camping days, I got to say. It's kind of hard to believe that this is 10 years old, too. I mean, the price tag, which is why I like using this app, $45.51. I don't remember how much I paid for this, honestly. That's how long it's been since I bought a bottle of Laphroaig, and it's why that's so low. It was probably less at the time, if I'm thinking about it. It was probably closer to 40 than 45, which says something, unfortunately. Oh. It looks like the app has... it's doing store availability now. That's cool. It's all in pounds, unfortunately, but it's showing me stuff like Laphroaig 10-year-old cast strength 2020, 77 pounds or euros, whatever that is. Laphroaig 25-year-old cast strength 460 pounds or euros, whatever that is. Good God. Dweet. I can only hope it's not too expensive now, because that's the real problem for me is Scotches and Irishes. The prices have been hiked. And since I don't really have disposable income at the moment, I have to kind of use a credit card and hope for the best, unfortunately, which is the worst thing I can do right now. But, oh well. Me and my father have this bad habit of saying, well, you only live once, so might as well be in debt, I guess. I don't know. Part of why I've been doing the YouTube thing and actually actively trying to make more videos is because I'm trying to get to the point where I can actually get revenue from YouTube. That would be very helpful because, as I said, the idea was to get some kind of part-time work this year, and that just not a thing. Working from home isn't a thing either, unless doing this is working from home. And in all honesty, I have never liked the idea of working for someone else. I mean, granted, I'd be part of the YouTube, whatever it is. So technically, I'd be working for YouTube or Google or whatever it is. But it's that idea of having a boss watching everything you're doing and needing deadlines and that kind of thing. I don't work very well in those regards, we'll say. I barely work well enough to function as a human adult rather than trying to work for someone else at the same time. I wish it wasn't true, but it is. I would agree with the color note they got. This is sparkling gold. And again, it's hard for me to believe this is 10 years old just looking at it and going off the color. Nom, nom, nom. It's good. Reminds me of a hamburger for some reason. And bacon. It does have that meatiness to it, certainly. I'm realizing I haven't eaten much today, too, of course. Official knows. It's saying everything I just said. Huge smoked seaweedy with a hint of sweetness. Yes. The sweetness is oddly the thing I pulled out more often than I'd expect when I was fortunate enough to go, and this is, of course, more storytelling bits. I was fortunate enough last November, I believe, to meet Rex and Daniel, and I think I said this on the last stream. I met Rex and Daniel officially the first time at Irene Tan's store in Connecticut. And she's the one of the Whiskey Somms who opened her own store, and they did a video about it, visiting her store. Being in New England, them being here at all was hilarious. And she had a big old tasting, and there was lots of whiskey, and it was a lovely time. But what happened because of that is later on, Irene had an event where she actually had distillers, or one of the distillers from Laphroaig in the area, because there was some kind of whiskey tasting event going on nearby. And they stopped by her store, and I had numerous different types of Laphroaig, and various years. Then they got softer, oddly enough. When they get older, they teeter out. They become easier to drink, oddly enough, rather than the younger ones being kind of bitey and punchy, and they want to fight you. But once they've been in the barrel for, let's say, was one of them 16 years or something? I have pictures, but it's all vague now. But once they get past 15 years, I think they soften a lot and become easier to manage, oddly enough. But I do recall going there and just kind of being dazzled by the fact that, well, one, there was a man there in a kilt with a Scottish accent, and I was drinking all these various levels of Laphroaig, which I definitely could not afford any of ever. But it was a lovely time. I was very happy to meet both of those gentlemen. I forget their names. This is the kind of prep stuff I should have done for a stream, but I did meet them. They were lovely people. I think they signed the Laphroaig bottle, now I think about it. Or they signed a piece of paper. That's right. I didn't have a Laphroaig bottle. I forgot to bring one. So I do have the signature somewhere. You know what? Hold on. I'm okay. Just for proof, this is my old empty Laphroaig bottle. Now I'm not a liar. I now remember his name now, I think. Nope, I won't. That's silver, too. Whatever that is. That's his signature. And this Laphroaig lore bottle is sadly very, very empty. And now it's going to bug me because I can't remember his name. Got the guy's signature. Can't read it to save my life. But there. I validated that story, at least. And I'm sad that this bottle's empty. I don't remember how much it was, but it was probably 150-ish, maybe. Glorious stuff, to be honest. So I did get to meet them. I got the signature, and I still have the bottle of Laphroaig lore. But another thing I got to do at Irene's later on, this is all kind of, it's very weird how life and things just happen. The whole fact that Laphroaig and, doing audiobook work in general somehow led me into this whiskey path completely by accident. And now I'm doing this where I'm actually, have whiskey. I'm talking about it with other whiskey people. Life is weird, we'll just say. And whiskey is life, I guess. My camera was slightly off. It was bothering me. Now, to finish my thoughts, at Irene's place, at another point in time, Irene had a Laphroaig Laura Cardeas sample. So she had a lineup of, 5 or 6 of the releases that they've done over the years. And I got to sample all of those, too, with one of them being a trick, I think. One of them wasn't Laphroaig. I think it was like Lagavulin, maybe. And to be honest, I couldn't tell much of anything when I went through that many different Laphroaig types. It was just, it overwhelmed my senses, I guess. It's just like, oh, it's Laphroaig, I think, or it's peated Scotch at the very least. That was the first blind anything I did, I think. I remember I wrote a bunch of stuff down, but I don't remember what it was. So that was an experience into itself. And again, it was Laphroaig based. I don't know why Laphroaig keeps coming up, but it does. And it's been an interesting journey. Oh, and to finish what I was saying before with the Laphroaig notes, the official taste or the official finish is just lingering, which I agree with. It lingers for a little while, but it doesn't stick. And again, considering, was it 40, 43? I want to say 43. It is. 43% on a 10-year-old. And for me, it doesn't, it doesn't seem like it is. It doesn't feel like a higher proof, but I guess 43 kind of is the happy zone. I believe that's where the no-chill filter thing is, I think. The wonderful thing about talking whiskey and trying to say anything as far as your history is that your memory is not great, or my memory is not great, when it comes to remembering facts and information such as that. But I think non-chill filter is at 43%, which is why I usually go from that and above. And also I like higher proofs. Speaking of higher proofs, I want to start diving into this one, which I've been letting it sit here, which I know is a mistake, uncovered. Blasphemy. I'll get this right at some point. I promise. The more of these I do, the more I know what I'll be doing. In theory. I don't know if it's because it's sitting here or what, but it doesn't smell like a peated Scotch at all compared to the other one. This one just smells sweet and friendly. All right, let's see what the thing tells me. The lovely part about working at my desk is that I can just look stuff up fairly quickly. And as I was saying, if you're just joining us, this is Laphroaig Cardaeus that I'm talking about at the moment. Pheno cask, which I believe is one of the ones that was at Irene's place. Oops. And it's lovely. But it's certainly not. If I smelled this and you said, what is this? I would not think Laphroaig right away. I assume that's just because the pheno cask finish kind of softening it, making it sweeter rather than peatier. It's bizarre. Bizarre! But I like it. There we go. 2018 edition, apparently. Which I didn't know. Oh my gosh. Well. Again, we're going into vocabulary words. Stuff I wouldn't think up, which is why I look it up, let's be honest. I don't want to fog up the glass either. So the community knows profile for this one. Oh, first, I'll do this in order Sunday. Color. Looks like the other one. Very thin, or not very thin, very yellowish rather than with the bourbons I seem to be so fond of. They're often that amber orange hue. And it's also, this and Irish color are very similar to me. So the nose profile for the community on this is medicinal, rubbery, lemon, orange, peaty, smoky, herbal, salt. Oh gosh, that's a word I don't know. Camphor? I feel like I should, again, I don't know what camphor is. Apricot, almonds, dried fruits, pear, and raisins. I get the feeling I'm more of a visual person than a sensory person, which is why having profile with color wheels helps me out so much. I would agree with the dried fruit. Smoky and peaty and medicinal are kind of in there, but not like the 10. The 10 is the one that was just blatantly peated Scotch. This one's more of a whole different beast, oddly. Oh, and the price for this supposedly is $78.45 USD. I get the feeling it's more than that now. Especially because it's, what, 2 years old now? Smells lovely. I agree with raisins, too. Almonds is one of those notes I don't think I've ever gotten easily. Flavor. I'm not going to look at it. Ooh, definitely peated on the taste. More of a, oh gosh. Oh, trying to explain peated scotch is so weird. But it definitely made me think of manure for a second, which is unsurprising. And it's drying me out as a finish. My tongue's getting dried out. Wow. Well, that was weird in a good way. The flavor profile for this says medicinal, smoky, lemon, vanilla, peaty, and honey. Oof. Oh, let's see. Honey. I definitely got like barnyard tasty kind of stuff from that, weirdly enough. At least to the first taste like that. It was strange. And it doesn't help that I actually have been around a number of barnyards in my life, which is why I think I get that smell / taste kind of thing. It's bizarre, if nothing else. That's a little better. And it's funny, it's not drinking like the proof. And I don't know if that's just because of what it is or what, because I'm pretty sensitive to it. I've noticed, like any kind of alcohol I drink spirits wise, I can feel it going all the way down immediately. It's like it's not the taking a shot of it experience, because that's just uncomfortable, but I'm aware of the alcohol going into my stomach, let's say. Finish profile for this smoky peaty apricot, dried fruit. Another word I don't know what the heck that means. Creosote? Creosote. Creosote. Salt, cinnamon, and oily. All right. I didn't know I could do that. I clicked on it by accident and it said I disagree, I guess. It removed it from the wheel. It was bizarre. And this is a no age statement. I don't know what that means exactly. Oh, well, I know what it means. No age statement. I know what that means. But it does, quiet. It does make me wonder about what they put in here. Like all no age statements will, if you don't have a number on the bottle, people like numbers. Whiskey drinkers seem to like numbers. But if you don't have a number on the bottle, people get a little weird. I know I do. Not seriously. I mean, I'm fine with MGP bourbons and that kind of thing. But I guess in my head, I equate years to a price sometimes. I think many people do. That's kind of the default with whiskey drinking and scotch drinking specifically, when it's 15 years or 20 years or 25 years. Richie Z, thank you. Hi, welcome. Welcome into the Laphroaig Day, which is just an excuse for me to pour the Laphroaigs I have and talk about my Laphroaig experiences. As I said to early in the video, and I'll say it again, Laphroaig Day officially is the first day in 2016, which is today, that I had Laphroaig for the first time. And I didn't hate it. That was the big fear, was that I was going to drink Laphroaig and just get sick immediately. It didn't happen. I was fine with it. I'm pretty sure part of my experience was just kind of my age at the time, and also I've always been into kind of coffees, and I drink a lot of espresso, which I probably shouldn't, but I often mix that kind of bittersweet thing, which has been fun. The official nose on this is just toasted almonds, which again, almonds in general is one of those smells that I find hard to cling on to. Like people say almonds, and I'll go, well, I've had almonds before, but I haven't thought about it to that extent. What do almonds smell like? Well, I guess they smell like almonds, but it's a nut. It's hard. It's almost like saying, I know what peanuts smell like, but when it's almonds for some reason, it feels like it's far away. And it probably doesn't help that oftentimes when I had almonds, it was either just raw almonds, which are not a great memory, just unpleasant, or chocolate covered almonds, which are glorious. The official taste for this is dry fruit and sea salt. Apparently that's not what it was for me. This was more of a barnyard experience at first, but yeah, it's bizarre. The peat of it is on the taste. Makes my tongue just go tingly. Oh my gosh, and there it goes again. But the flavor of it, not so much. Oh gosh, more people. Julie L., the legend of other streams. Welcome to Laphroaig Day. The official finish on this just says Laphroaig signature peated flavor, which is kind of a cop-out, but that's fine. I'm going to compare it to the Laphroaig 10 again. Now the Laphroaig 10 smells fruity. What the heck? Joys of side-by-side comparisons. One of the fun things about whiskey, and especially with peated stuff, is getting to compare them side by side because they are so different. Like the one that I thought was super peaty earlier, and maybe it's just because it's been open for a little while, suddenly isn't so much. Porter Wilson, 2020, welcome. We are drinking peated scotches because it's Friday, and I am reminiscing about my Laphroaig / whiskey journey and why this channel even exists. Like that's the big part. That's how Laphroaig, peated scotch, whiskey vaults, all of these random things just kind of fell together to end up having me do any of this. That's lost all of its bite. Weird. Probably because this one seems to, I guess it's because of the higher proof is the only thing I can think of, is the Cardaeus, which doesn't smell as peated, but does taste it. And then it's just being a higher proof overall at 51.8%, which is perfect. The funny thing I found is that I often seem to lean towards anything that's 50% or higher. 100 proof is my life, I guess. And I've been having a very hard time with the 40% stuff because it's just not enough. I think my palate or my profile is pretty weird. It craves the higher proofs because there seems to be so much more to get out of the flavors. But when it's the nuanced stuff, that's where I start stumbling over my own feet. Like with this little guy. Last video I did, I had a hell of a time getting much of anything out of this one. I pretty much just had to look it up. But again, it's a tiny bottle. It's 40%. It's a completely different bourbon, but it was rough. Oops. And I have this one coming up next. And again, just by looking at the color of it, yeah, it's a wheat whiskey. It's extremely light. That's the thing that freaks me out. When it looks like that, I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to get out of this? All right, we're going to do the thing again. I'm going to add a few drops of water to the higher proof Cardaeus just to see what happens. 1, 2, we'll go 3. Let that hang out. Ay, ay, ay. The other reason I like doing these streams, of course, is that having WhiskyTube people here is awesome. That's like the real joy out of doing these is that, people are talking to each other. It's almost like all of us can hang out and have a drink and just chit chat about whatever. Granted, with, YouTube being what it is, it wants me to have some kind of topic, which is why I picked the Laphroaig thing. But, could be about anything. But right now I'm trying to stick with peated scotches. I think I might pour some Ardbeg just to make it even, I guess. I don't know. Warmer's function, that sounds exciting. Oh, yeah, that was a little more bitey, but not too much. The first sip of this Cardaeus stuff was brutal, but now it's not so bad. I think I'm adapting. The weirdest thing with peated stuff is how aggressive it is and how hard it is to start picking things out. But as I was saying, it seems like a lot of my problem is that it's memories and experiences more than flavors. I know with Daniel, he often has a thing where he equates things musically, which I can only imagine what that's like. But for me, I always think of places and, certain scenarios rather than thinking, oh, this is like eating an orange or, a bitter peel or apples. That's not what happens to me. I always think of some bizarre situation where I remember something smelling something. Like earlier, I said, for whatever reason, drinking Laphroaig and other things like that, I get this wet ash campfire thing. And immediately it made me think of back to the days when I was in Boy Scouts, and we'd wake up after night and you'd have that campfire got rained on ash smell, which I can only say as a thought and as a memory, where if you've never been near a wet campfire, you're going to really have a good idea of what I'm talking about. Oh. All right, this is the regular Laphroaig 10, I think. Must have confused myself horribly. Oh, you guys are talking about buying bottles. What the heck? Today is the day where I know I shouldn't be online looking at whiskey tube stuff because it's just going to make me want to buy whiskey. I just recently found out that there's the possibility that Smooth Ambler is just down the road, and I could probably get it. And I blame Whiskey Vault / Rex and Daniel for that one, because they're the ones who got involved with those guys. I'd never heard of it. That's what I want to find out, Richie. That's part of why I was about to pour some Ardbeg. Is I'm curious. I haven't actually done a comparison on a camera, but I know I've had both of them before, but I don't know if I've done one right after the other. Julie L. I have defaulted to bourbons only because of prices and availability. Like, I am fond of certain scotches. The whole reason I'm even doing this is because my early introduction into whiskey as a sipping beverage was, Laphroaig 10 and peated scotches, which I was thankfully not. It wasn't a deterrent, thankfully. It was just something that made me a little more curious about what whiskey had to offer. But with tariffs and imported tax kind of stuff going on with scotches and Irish, it kind of knocks them out of my price range. Like, everything technically as far as whiskey is technically out of my price range, except for Evan Williams' Bottled Bond, which is glorious, $15 stuff. But as far as my enjoyment level, I am the type who will be, I want to try everything. That's my thing. I know that doesn't make me, narrowed down to a specific audience, like the bourbon crowd or the whiskey or the Scotch crowd or the Irish crowd. But I like trying all of them because they're all so very different. As far as bourbons go, I tend to go to the higher proof stuff. And as far as scotches go, I tend to go with sweet and peaty-ish stuff. Seems to be what I like out of it. Because when I look at my collection behind me, I have stuff like Macallan 12 here, which I don't really like. I have Dalmore, which I don't really like. And then I have, was it Highland Park 12 over here somewhere, hiding in the crowd, which I really like, which is almost all gone, which I might pour some of that too, because I have it, and I know it's peated-ish. But then I have a bunch of Irish stuff too. I'm actually, my crusade at the moment, or at least my thought of what I want to do, is find more high-proof Irish stuff, because I really love Red Best 12 cask strength, but trying to find anything above 40% or 43% as far as Irish goes has been a bit of a chore. I found a few, but only like 45% is about as high as I can find it. Oh, and Richie Z and I will pour some Ardbeg to see if I can answer that question. The campfire one, oddly enough, I got out of the Cardeas first. Num num num. Blah. Good stuff. Water. That's just going to make it weird, probably. Not diluting it. This is going to taste like the ocean, probably. Nope, didn't, thankfully. Ooh. But now I have to do the in today's Whiskey Vault episode, every time Rex did that, there was a whip crack sound, which only made me think of that song, which I posted in somewhere earlier today. Whip it good, da-na-na-na-na, and it shows my age, da-na-na-na-na. Whip it good. This is actually a pretty coveted / enjoyed Ardbeg, and I guess I have to appease the cult by having some of this on a Laphroaig episode, or else they might come and get angry at me. This is the Ugadal, or how did Rex do it? How did he do it? He had this weird voice. Yes, Richie Z, this is the Oogie. My Ugadal. That's how he had his voice. He talked about his Ugadal. This one is at oh gosh, I can't even. 54.2. That is very hard to read. Do you like my Ugadal? Can't do that for very long. I'm going to hurt myself. Pour some of this in here, only a little, because again, we're at a higher proof. And I want to at least go out and buy a bottle of something tonight, even though it's a Friday. But Ugadal. I just watched this episode a little while ago, too. I think it was the most coveted whiskeys of 2019, and Ugadal was on there, and Rex decided to talk like this about his Ugadal. Is it spicy? We can't be too serious about our whiskey. That's another thing I have to reiterate. Whoa. Good God. That is not Laphroaig. And I wouldn't say campfire immediately. I would say, I guess I'm getting that iodine smell more than anything. Yeah. This is the one thing I don't know how people do, is they talk and read at the same time. For me, it's just like stop and read. Gosh, I don't know how people would do this with like 50 to 100 people in here. I'm happy to have everyone here, so thank you for showing up. Hit that like button, tell your friends and subscribe. Because that's what you have to say on these videos, which makes me feel so bizarre. No, I'm thinking of dark chocolate and iodine on the smell anyway, for the Ardbeg Ugadal. Blah. It doesn't smell good, but I mean, peated scotches often do have that kind of aggressive, hi, how are you smell. Oh. It's much softer on the taste and not as what I call tingly. When I get those kind of peppery, spiky notes when I drink it, it doesn't have that at all. That was actually very pleasant as far as a peated anything goes, which is, I think, is probably why people like it so much. It is lovely and is enjoyable rather than what some people might call the peated scotch experience, where you drink it, you go, ah! Suddenly, you know, chest hair just erupts from all over your body just because of this. I don't know if that's true. Hair in general doesn't explode out of people, but for some reason, drinking this stuff goes. Oh, it's lovely. Oh, it's so weird. I don't know if it's because I just had Laphroaig, but the comparison between these two is bizarre. And these two are a similar proof. This one's 50 bit and this one's 50 bit. Whatever I said earlier, which I can't remember. Since I've opened and poured the Ardbeg, I have to do the thing. Do the thing, as they say in, what is it? Last Airbender? Oops. I just lost it. I'm only mulling over the idea of getting the Smooth Ambler because of Rex and Daniel teaming up with them. And I found out there's some nearby. And apparently there's a place down the road that might have it. I haven't called them to verify. but it's actually a place I haven't gone to in a while either. So I'm curious to see what their selection is like. I have two places. I have the one that's called Cappy's, which I dig because as I found out recently, and I'll tell you guys just in case, but when I did last stream, I talked about this bottle, which have you noticed? It's just kind of gone down real quick. That was like a week ago. But that was my first official donated bottle, and the only way I was able to get it was someone was kind enough to buy it from a place called Cappy's, which is just like right over there, less than 2 miles away. And you can buy stuff online there, say it's for Brian of KIllco, and I can go and pick it up. So I found out I can actually get bottle donations for anyone who is willing to do that. And I know with Rex and Daniel and the whiskey balls in general, if nothing else, the whiskey tube people have shown their awesomeness in being kind and generous with their donations and such. Now I have plenty of little things to review and plenty of bottles behind me that I don't even think I've opened. This one in particular has been here for a very long time, and I'm reluctant to open it simply because I don't know when I could afford it again. But it's a high proof Nika from the barrel thing. So I know I like it just because it's high proof whiskey, but the mere thought that I can never get that again bothers me. I couldn't afford it. But yeah, if anyone ever wants to donate a bottle, contact me through, I think I have the email down there somewhere or on my about page, if you ever want to do that. And someone already has, and it was amazing. That bottle of 1792 Full Proof is amazing. And they have a lot of selection there. And Cappy's, they're called Cappy's, has a whole glass case full of stuff as well with all the fancy things. I even found out today when I was looking at it, they have the Larceny Barrel Proof, and apparently they have Elijah Craig Full Proof or Barrel Proof, whatever it's called, too. Well out of my price range right now, but at least it's there. So yeah, the thought is after I finish this stream, I'll probably go and get, or I'll go see if Smooth Ambler is at that store. If they don't have it, or if it's too expensive, which I hope it isn't, I'll probably just buy a beer or something. I don't know. I hate to go into a liquor store and not buy anything. That's definitely the Ardbeg. Can I tell which is which just by the smell? I also added water to this, so that's going to make it different. There's a difference. Can I tell you exactly what it is? Probably not. Yes, the Instagram as well. I've actually had a couple people are sending samples too, which is also amazing. As I am a lowly, non-monetized YouTuber, any kind of anything that people send me is wonderful. And I still have stuff from last year that I haven't touched, which I've shown before, but I'll show again just in case people haven't seen it. And I know I'm getting down to the wire here, but I have a 31-year-old 1983 Milton Duff Speyside single malt, which again, camera's not going to want to show anything because it hates my life. But I promise that's what it says. I have this one, which I'm actually very curious about because it's Willet. This is Willet 4-year rye, 109 proof. I've never had Willet. Just sitting here in a bottle. And then we have a 1992 Linkwood Speyside single malt, 27-year, 105.6 proof. And we have my two final Texas samples. If you can't tell by the color, they scream Texas. We have a Balcones Juntos single malt tequila finish, which sounds like it's going to be real weird. And then we have an Iron Root Republic Icker, 5th anniversary, 5-year-old, 123 proof. Both of those I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy. I hope. But yeah, a lot of it is just me figuring out if I want to stream stuff or if I want to make videos of stuff. It's a fun adventure of trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm probably going to go live again this weekend just because I think, was it Sunday? Yeah, last Sunday I did a stream at, was it 6 o'clock? Yeah, it was 6 o'clock. So I might do a stream on Sunday at 6 because I know my normal thought was, you know, I would stream long before It's Bourbon Night goes on, which I think they're on at 8. But I also know they're not going to be on this weekend. It's going to be Trib Wilson, who, if he ever shows up in here, will immediately become a mod because I'd feel real weird if he wasn't. I don't know why. We all know why. He's everywhere. But I know he's taking up the It's Bourbon Night stream this week. Or not stream, but he's going on at their time. The reason I'm thinking of stopping in 5 minutes is only because I know Stories and Sips. If you're into Irish whiskey, there's a guy, Barry, who's been doing stuff every Friday for the past, most of this year. And just because of that, it gives you something to do on a Friday night. It's more laid back. Like, he's not doing strict reviews, but he's pouring a lot of interesting whiskeys and Irish whiskeys, stuff I wish I could get my hands on. And I'm still of the mindset of I want to get to Ireland and Scotland someday. With Roy going to Islay recently, it's only reminded me of how much I want to see other places. But because of this past year being the way it was, everything just kind of went. And again, as I mentioned before, my personal problems and my financial issues are not something anyone wants to hear and not something I like to discuss, but it's true that I am on disability and I haven't been able to work in the past 10 years. And I was hoping to get part-time work this year, and well, no, it didn't happen. It wasn't a thing. I'm hoping to find something before the middle of next year would be nice, because I have rents to pay and rent keeps going up. It's a thrill. Life is a thrill. Whiskey is life. That's kind of what keeps me going, I think, is having a community to be active with, like everyone here, and just knowing I might talk to Rex and Daniel again someday, knowing I might be able to visit Kentucky at some point, if nothing else. And really trying new things. The biggest thing I tell myself as someone who has some fairly serious mental problems and depressive issues and mood problems is life is experience. And while oftentimes those experiences are brutal, you have to realize that there will be other experiences to have. And if nothing else, it's just being able to sample different kinds of whiskeys, which is part of what's happened to me over the past 3-4 years. As I've been able to try a variety of different whiskeys. I've been places I never would have gone before if I hadn't been into whiskey. Now, Trevor's going on late. Okay, good. I will try to at least stop my stream before 8. I definitely will. I'm not going for another hour, but I might go a little past 7, because I know Stories and Sips has a big enough audience. And also, he's mostly on Facebook. Like, he does stream via YouTube, but his whole crowd seems to be through Facebook, and I'm trying to avoid Facebook as much as I can. I don't need the stress. This year has been stressful enough. But as I was saying, whiskey is, one of those things that's meant to be shared, and it's also the experience in general that I think people are. So that draws people in is that we all share in the experience. Like, if you're a peat head or you like peated scotches in general, it's an experience. I'll give it that. And if nothing else, I'm trying to figure out my niche or my preferences, and that's been a long journey. As far as I can tell, it's slightly peated scotches are good. Higher proofs are a thing that I like in all varieties. Redbreast Spell specifically, or Redbreast Cask Strength is one of the ones that's just, why can't I find more higher proof Irish stuff is my question. And there are still a bunch of varieties of Irish I haven't tried. I haven't tried Teeling, to my memory. I have a bottle that I haven't opened over here, which is not a high proof, but it's just the Tullamore Dew. The only thing that makes it special is it says Red Sox on it, because my father bought this last year. Gosh. Yeah, he got me this last year. It's only 40%. And the trick or the joke is that I don't watch any kind of sports, and he likes the Red Sox. Ooh. Just had a thought. Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, I'm not digging into these too much, mostly because I can't. I've convinced myself over the years that because of my mental health problems, there's like a weird disconnect. And I've noticed it with foods too. Like it's caused a problem where for most people, eating food is enjoyable because you enjoy the taste of it as well. But for me, There are times where I'll eat food and I'll be thinking about it. Well, did I really taste it? Did I just inhale it? Was it that enjoyable experience? Weird stuff. Like, I know I like everything bagels, but I don't know exactly why. I know I like ketchup on my eggs, but I don't know why. I like Tabasco sauce on my eggs, but it's just because it's mostly just a feel, I think, is often what I get the most. And as I was saying, I tend to get memories and scenarios rather than being able to lock onto flavors specifically, which does bother me. I mean, as far as a whiskey tube thing, it does seem it helps to have a very good taste profile, but in my head, it's the challenge that I kind of dig, or I'm interested in it because it's not easy, and often it just kind of makes my brain do a little work, which is good, because oftentimes I'll just lie in bed, which is not good. There's one thing I want to try before I actually log off tonight, which I will do soon. And then I got to figure out which one of these I want to finish. I want to finish the Laphroaig, Cardeas, which is lovely. But there's something else I ran into by accident, which people will know of and was mentioned today in... Oh, if you're a patron of the Whiskey Vault and you got to hear their... or hear/watch their podcast video thing, they talked about something interesting, which I've known of, and I think I've done a review of. Honestly, might not have. Whoa. Oh, Laphroaig's good. That's burning. That's burning on the way down. Ow. Part of the reason I want to get involved with other channels too is because I almost want their help. I want them to help guide me through tasting sometimes. I've done them before, but oftentimes I get so discouraged by my inability to get onto the nuances and just the word vocabulary that some people have, which I don't. I often get stuck with sweet, peaty, a little bit of smoke, and then I get locked in. I didn't talk about the Oogdal. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Isla Mist Deluxe. This is what you do when you can't afford Laphroaig. The Peated Isla Blend. Good grief. Boblin, Scotland. 40%. Twist off. You know what? Hang on. Do these look very similar to you? Is it just me? It's not just me, is it? Cheap Irish Blend. Cheap Isla Blend. They look way too similar. And I only just noticed this. Like the bottle is exactly the same. The back of it looks similar. Like just the way everything's lined up. Oh, that's freaking me out. Yeah, the same color almost. I think this one to me looks a little more... Yeah. This one's a little lighter. And I'm guessing that's just because it's Irish. But yeah. That's a little freaky. Like, that was not something I noticed up until this point. Until I picked up this bottle. They look a little too similar. I think it's different importers, but gosh, that's weird. Anyway. Laphroaig. Oh, it's still higher proof. Horrible. It's good though. And again, it's making me think of meats, smoked meats. I think I said bacon earlier. Good God. Ardbeg Oogdal's listed price here is, of course, $73.56. Why is it such a weird price? $75. Sorry. If anyone wondering who Jim is my father, who is a fan of the peated scotches. I'm trying this one, Isla Mist. Wow. Yeah. At least I don't have to worry about the cork on this one. I feel like that's the default imported cheap stuff price. I bet he does. Now, oddly, obviously, compared to what I just drank before, this is the Ardbeg. I finished off the Laphroaig Cardeas, and this is the Isla Mist. Which, again, if you're curious about Islas and you have to buy a bottle, that will be okay. But I'd actually sell people Johnny Walker Black before anything else, since it's very sweet and readily available. Probably a little more expensive. This is where I would get frustrated normally because I can't get much out of this. It's a dentist's office. That's what I immediately thought of there. And I don't know why I'm thinking dentist instead of doctor. I'm being reminded of, oh gosh, why does it always have to be an experience? I'm being reminded of being at the dentist's office, and it's that, oh, I know what it is. It's, well, if you've never had a cavity, you won't know what this is. But if you ever get a cavity done and they have to jab you with Novocaine, it's the taste of Novocaine. It's a weird taste, and I don't like it. But that's what I'm getting on the smell, oddly enough. And yeah, I guess medicinal is the best way to put it. But that one's specific. That's one of the weird things I get, is I can't think of real specific stuff quickly. But then I get this random story in my head where I'm remembering a time when I was at a dentist's office and he had to jab me and a little of the Novocaine didn't go in. And I tasted it. And the taste is weird. And of course, that's for the smell. It smells like the Novocaine I've tasted before. Oh, that's bizarre. Not much else to it, though. I mean, again, we're comparing it to the heavy hitters, Ardbeg and Laphroaig. And of course, the fact that they're higher proofs. Like this is a 40% Isla blend, I think. So, oh wait, before I even take a sip, let me at least give it a chance. Yeah. Ardbeg Oudlaw is also a no age statement. Interesting. Yeah, dentist's office. That's freaking me out. I can only think of a dentist's office now. Whoa. It's thin, unsurprisingly. Drying out my tongue a little, and I can't pin down. There was a memory there for a second, and it wasn't a pleasant one. Because I know, peated stuff. But this is nothing. It's got apples to it, I guess. Ugh. Ugh. Bizarre. Not terrible, but I'm not doing it any favors by drinking it after I've had a number of high-proof peated scotches. So right now it's getting, it's getting beat down pretty hard as far as what I've had before just this. The dentist's office thing is still there, but it's not as bad. The taste is weirding me out. It's doing something to the back of my throat. Kilchoman? I don't have any, but I've definitely heard of it. But I don't think I've ever bought a bottle. Like I said, with scotches of any sort right now, it's difficult to afford them, to be honest. And I don't have any. I can't spend money, but I sometimes do. Credit cards are evil, just for the record. Okay. The memory there, whatever you want to call it, it's not good because it's something I get out of red wines. There are certain red wines I don't like because I get this weird. It's something. It's this weird taste or this weird tang. It's not tannin. Maybe it is. But red wine has this certain thing about it that I'm not a fan of, especially if it's not a great red wine to begin with. There are very few ones I actually like. I've had a few that I like, but every once in a while, most of the time, I seem to run into this kind of thing where it just puts me off. And I don't know if it's a bitter thing or if it's just this kind of weird taste thing. That's hard to describe because one, you have to have had red wine, and another, you have to have had red wine that's not great. And it dries out your tongue a little, and it does something odd. Maybe sour is the right word. I don't mind sour too much. Like, I like Sour Patch candies, but all I can say is it felt real weird, and it was on the center of my tongue, oddly enough. And I can't quite get it. It's bugging me. Yeah, Richie, we'll go with sour. Or something's just off about it. Maybe it's kind of one of those things where the fermentation didn't go quite right or something. And it does leave kind of a sour, strange. I guess the word I often use is funk. And I immediately see the word funk kind of flashing up here. That's not going to happen, but that's how my brain works because of the Fancy Dan or whoever edits Vault videos. I think it's Fancy Dan. But yeah, it's a bizarre cellar musty kind of thing. It's not great. It's not terrible, but it's not great. All right. I've gone over time, as It's Bourbon Night often does, and many other people do. Maybe. Thankfully, I don't let my fruit spoil too often, but I can think of, rotten apple or something like that, or maybe overripe grapes or something. I wonder if people can hear that. I have a neighbor next door who's having a lovely time, but also thin walls doesn't help. But yeah, as far as the Isla Mist goes, it's not great. I think it's good for a blend, and I'm pretty sure it's a blend of many things. But I would recommend Johnny Walker Black way before I'd recommend the Isla Mist. Every day, huh? Oh. Yeah. As far as the winner, there's no winner here. I don't deal with the whole peated fight between Laphroaig and Ardbeg. I like them both. I would gladly have either of them. And there's always the others, like Highland Park 12 or even Isla Mist, which is, it's drinkable, but not great. Would not recommend as a starter. As a starter, maybe, because it's the least peated, vulgar kind of, aggressive, I guess is the word, not vulgar, but aggressive peat is not in the Isla Mist. But I know some people can be immediately put off with Laphroaig type products, but thankfully not me. And thankfully, because of that, and because of all these circumstances that just happened over time, I've been able to experience many different Laphroaigs and many different peated scotches. I do have a Lagavulin, which I was tempted to bring out, but it's the 9. It's actually the it was one I was going to do last week at some point, but I never did the stream because I only was going to go stream live because Roy wasn't going to be on, but he ended up being on, and I had other plans too. I had dinner with the family that day, but I have a Lagavulin 9-year, which is the, God dang it, it's a Game of Thrones one. Excuse me. Yeah, Lannister. So there's that one, which is also good, but it's highly aggressive for a Lagavulin. Like, I wish I could get the 16, but that costs well over 80 or something odd dollars now. Too expensive. Get it someday. It's good, but it's definitely bitey. As far as my vague memory of trying Lagavulin 16 once or twice at a bar, it was less aggressive, and that, being only 9 years, was a little more bitey and punchy. And it reminds me of just the regular Laphroaig 10 as far as the initial, first go at it. But I still have to come out with a good outro. I always just use the stuff these two gentlemen do, which is DFTBA. Don't forget to be awesome. And then because I do have a Star Trek thing over here, and I'm a big fan of Star Trek, I then say live long and prosper because, Spock. And then I say sláinte because I really like Irish whiskey and also have Irish heritage. And I can't figure out how to end a stream or a video faster, but someday I will. And now that I've said all those, thank you everyone who has attended this lovely event. I hope to go live on Sunday. As I said before, I know I need outro music. No, that's Whiskey Vault. Can't do that. I can do what Daniel's been doing. Dun 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 dun. That's for the shelf thing. So what I've thought about doing a few times is doing the old school Masterpiece Theater. Those were the days. Thank you everyone for showing up. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Tell your friends because I need the subs apparently. And yeah, tune in Sunday. I hope to go again at 6 o'clock, and we'll drink more whiskeys. What we'll do, have a theme, I have no idea. But until then, stay awesome, people. You're all magnificent bastards, as they say. Bye.